So here it is, software update 2020.36, and with this one we do have some nice improvements to Autopilot, which is great news. Still not the major rewrite, obviously, but definitely some good ones here. So for the green traffic light, we now get a chime when it's going to turn green. So if you're waiting for the traffic light to turn green, it will give you a chime. And then we have speed assist improvements. So this one's going to be a great one for Autopilot. Now, where there are roads where Autopilot just doesn't know what the speed limit is based on map data, they'll just default to 45 miles per hour. So there's a few instances where we actually go on roads where speed limit is between 55 and 65. But since there is no map data for the speed limit on that particular stretch of road, Autopilot will restrict you to 5 over the speed limit or 45 miles per hour. And so in that case, it will slow you down a lot in that area. So this now, Autopilot will have a little bit more control over the speed based on reading the traffic speed limit signs. So that's definitely going to help out. We're going to have to check it out. I know in my neighborhood, at least, that would be a good place to check it out, because I know there's a stretch of the neighborhood where it will automatically default to 50 miles per hour on cruise control when the speed limit is 25. So it'll be interesting to see if it actually detects speed limit signs in the neighborhood. That would be great if it did that. And cruise set speed improvements. Quickly adjust the traffic aware cruise control or auto steer set speed to the current speed by simply tapping the cluster speedometer. Alright, so we'll have to check out cruise set speed improvements. Alright, so here we are on software 2020.36, new update, and we're going to see if it can determine the correct speed in different streets. In this case, in the neighborhood, I know it does not know what the speed is. So on this street here, it normally, so there it is. See, it says 45 mile per hour speed limit. So it does say that right now, and there is a sign up here. So the sign here is right at the front of the neighborhood. We'll have to catch it on the way back, but it does say 25. I wonder if I just turn around right here. It says 45 speed limit right now, and there's a 25 speed limit sign. Nothing. I think we need to see about that chime. Okay, here we go. Okay. So if you're on Autopilot and traffic light and stop sign control is activated, a chime will play when you can confirm to proceed through a green traffic light. So it's just a reminder that the light has turned green. Go ahead and turn that on and see if it works. So there's the chime that can confirm the green. Man, that's really far from the green light, but so it did chime. That was kind of nice, a little chime there. That sign said 30 miles per hour, but for this intersection, I don't think it pays attention to any of those signs, only to the main speed limit sign, I would guess. Alright, so here's a red light. When it turns green, should get a chime. I'm actually turning right, so I don't have to wait, but I'm going to wait anyway just to get that chime. Yep, there it is. It's kind of slow, actually. I would have expected it to chime a little bit sooner than that on that green light. But it's a nice reminder. Again, if you're kind of sleeping there at the light, then it gives you an opportunity. Now here's a problem. It slows down for this light here that's not activated. It's a school zone, but not right now. So it shouldn't be slowing down right now. Alright, there's the chime for that green light. That green light is really far away. I mean, I wouldn't normally confirm it that far away. I don't know if it was already slowing down at that distance. That's pretty far. And of course, it turned, yeah, I mean, it turned red before we even got to the intersection after I confirmed green. I guess, again, it might be nice if you were at a light and for whatever reason weren't paying attention to when it turned green. That's going to give you a little reminder that it turned green and it's time to go. It's nice to have at least the option to have the audio added to the visual cue, because it does have just a little tiny visual cue there that is requesting for your confirmation. So now you don't even have to think about the visual cue coming up and when you can confirm to go through the green. Alright, so real quick here in the neighborhood, I was going to test, based on my last video, I was talking about how to get into neutral, and one of my commenters suggested that you could just tap it into neutral and it would work. That does not appear to be the case for me. Now I am rolling in this case. I have a feeling that that might be based on the speed that you're going at the time. So here we go. I'm stopped. I'm on hold. That's the other thing. I'm actually in a certain driving mode that I suspect might have an effect on whether it would go into neutral automatically or not. So I'm going to check that out here in this parking lot. Alright, so we're going to test going into neutral, and in this case I do have the car in hold mode. So that's what I always keep it in, is hold mode. So I'm going to check and see if just tapping into neutral actually works from drive. So say you're going into the car wash and you had it in drive, and okay, it's hold. If I tap up in neutral, nothing. If I'm actually going slightly, if I tap up, nothing. If you do have your foot applied to the brake, you can just tap neutral. It'll go in neutral immediately. It's just one tap. So if you're not applying your foot to the brake, you have to hold into neutral. But if you're applying your foot to the brake, you can just tap it in neutral. So good to know. I will say I've noticed something this morning that without having the air conditioning on the passenger side, because that new feature to save a little bit of energy by not using the passenger air vents, it has fogged up over there on the right side of the windshield. I'm not sure that I like that too much, so that's interesting. See if turning the air conditioning on over there helps get the airflow going on that side and maybe helps not fog it up so much. But that is one interesting side effect to not having the air conditioning on the one side there. I'm pretty sure that's why it fogged up over there, because normally it doesn't do that. Alright, trying this out again, seeing if the signs have been calibrated. Up, and there we go. Speed limit 25, so the sign showed up that time and corrects your speed. Another speed limit sign, 25. Alright, so there it was. All it needed was a little bit of calibration. This morning I thought it wasn't working, honestly, on any of the streets, and it didn't show visually on the display at all. But now every speed limit sign has shown up. So we'll get out on the main road here and see if it does the same. Alright, so here's a speed limit sign, 45. Let's see if it catches it. Yep, there it is. Speed limit 45. Catches it perfectly. This street was already well mapped out as 40 miles per hour, so we haven't had any trouble with that. But let's see if it reads this 40 mile per hour sign. Yep, it does show up there. Alright, so coming up here, I am turning onto this street. It goes to 35 miles per hour. And there's the sign. 35 miles per hour. and the signs all show up now. So that is great. That is going to be a fantastic improvement, and it definitely will help on the streets that there is not currently mapped data for that street. And now I'll check when I get back in the neighborhood and see if that actually has been retained, that knowledge of it being 25 miles per hour in the neighborhood. Now I'm hoping that that is actually going to be stored in memory, so that every time I go through the neighborhood, it will always know that the speed limit is 25. At this point, that is not super beneficial because I cannot put auto steer on in the neighborhood because there are not any lane lines. But once Autopilot is updated to do auto steer without the lane lines, that is going to be a very welcome improvement of its ability to have the speed limits on roads that don't often have map data, such as neighborhoods. They don't have speed limit map data a lot of times. So I got that speed limit sign there. It's kind of right behind the trees, but it detected it no problem. Alright, so here we are going into a neighborhood. We're going to see if it gets the speed limit signs here. 25 is posted. Oh, didn't catch that one. So it didn't catch that speed limit sign. It is 25 here, so it missed that one. I don't know why it missed that, but it was still indicating 40 miles per hour. Here's another speed limit sign up here. Let's see if it switches to 25 with this one. Alright, there you go. So now it sees 25 and it posts the speed limit sign there of 25. Actually, I'm going to go back and I'm going to see if it retained that 25 for this street that it had originally missed. I'm going to try this again. This street is 40 miles per hour, and then when we turn into the neighborhood, it's going to be 25 miles per hour. Last time it missed that sign. Alright, so 40, it knows 40 on this street. So now when we turn into the neighborhood again here, this is the second time, so it should retain that speed limit of 25. Let's see. There's the sign, 25. Now it picked it up immediately. That is great. So the first time it missed it, wait a second. But now it's still back to 40 again. That's odd. So something's still weird about this neighborhood, and as far as when you go into it, it has that sign, 25. It got it the first time. Gets it the second time here. 25. That is so strange. It's definitely 25 the whole time. Not sure what's happening there. Alright, so let's turn onto this street and see if it retains the 25. Or if it has to see the sign. No, it disappears. So I'm not sure how that memory works. Does it actually retain that or not? So I'm not sure if there actually is any memory to the speed limit that is detected, because so far when I went through the second time, it did not detect did not retain the speed limit when I went through this neighborhood the second time. So I'm not sure if it just takes time for it to retain that in memory after it sees it a few times, or what it is. We'll have to do some further testing and see if that is the case. Maybe it takes a certain number of times to verify the map data and retain that in memory, or I don't know. It does work immediately when it sees the sign, which is in most cases. I only had it miss a speed limit sign in that one instance there where we turned into the neighborhood and the 25 mile per hour speed limit sign was just right at the front of the neighborhood. So I think it just missed it as far as being able to detect it that quickly. Alright, so there it is, software version 2020.36. What a great update it actually turned out to be with those speed limit signs being read I thought at first that it wasn't going to work at all, and so I was pretty disappointed that maybe it wasn't working in the neighborhood or something like that. But it turns out it just needed a few minutes to calibrate. So after we went through a few speed limit signs, and I don't know how many miles, my wife actually took the kids to work, so she did a little drive this morning, and then once she got back, when I got in it, it was reading all the signs again. So that is great news and a fantastic improvement. One more step towards that full self-driving, and when they get that major release to the Autopilot rewrite, I am excited to see what happens then if it starts to be able to do auto steer within the neighborhood, whereas right now without those lane lines it cannot do it. And now that it can read those speed limit signs, it will be able to do that within the neighborhood safely to the speed that it's supposed to go. And I haven't determined yet how much it keeps in memory, because it seemed like it did retain it in memory at first, but then when I went on another street, it just basically reverted back to the old guessed speed limit. The map data must have had in there. Basically, it didn't have the map data, so it defaulted back to some other speed that is not actually accurate. So we'll have to see that if over time it will retain those speed limits. That would be great. But overall, a very welcome improvement. A little bit of a green light chime and that sort of thing. That's great. So if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.